All right, and we're back. We've got my good friend Scott back for another little chapter, a little, little chat together.
Little talky talk.
Yeah, we got a good cup of coffee. We've been training for the last 3 days.
Yep.
And we've got 2 more days of training after today. We might even get to the range later this afternoon.
I think we need to.
If the rain will stop.
Yeah.
Last time we chatted like this in this kind of setting was 2 years ago. I was in a different state. We were training, I think, differently, both of us. I think I was definitely training differently because my training is always changing based on what I need and what my goals are. And I've noticed a lot about how Scott is changing his training, and we've been talking quite a bit about what's different. And I thought, why don't we talk about it on a video and see if we can share some of what we're finding with some people that are always looking for better training and new ways to do things and better ways to do this and more improvement and all stuff. So, welcome back.
Yeah,
it's
thanks.
Good to have you.
Great
it's
to
good
be here.
Train with you, and
great to be here in the great free state of Tejas.
That's right. Finally. So tell me, like since the last time we talked, and we only talked about a little bit about Dryfire, so we can talk about Dryfire too and whatever you're finding there as well. But I've noticed some of the Dryfire stuff you're doing is really making a huge impact also. So tell me what in the last 2 years, how things progressed, changed, whatever.
Yeah, so like interesting word, right? Change or progress, right? What are your goals for doing things, yada yada. So I'll just kind of run through like what's different in my life in the last 2 years, right?
Yeah.
So got my right knee replaced, right? That thing was horrible for many, many moons and stuff, but never had time to get that thing changed. And then I just made the commitment in the beginning of, what year is this, 2022 to get that changed. That's had a significant thing. Since last time I saw you, I probably dropped 60 pounds.
Yeah.
I probably dropped about 60 pounds, moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. So that's probably just like, the life part of things, right?
And that affects things a lot, right?
Oh my God.
The weight, the need, the life changes
influence
just like, you in a way.
Yeah, as far as shooting goes, I mean, as far as life goes, right? Traveling's easier because you're not carrying on so much weight. But why do you get that? Stopping's easier. And when your body can stop, guess what? The dot moves less. I hear all my, friends talk about, colors and streaks and static dots and motion when you're stopping. And I'm like, whatever, bro. It's always a violent streak, right? Because I couldn't stop because of my knees and stuff. And I can't, I look back and I think I was talking to my buddy AJ Zito about the stuff I did back then. I have no idea how I did them, but through hard work and perseverance, you can't overcome. But man, if you don't have to, if you can make life easier, make life easier.
Yeah,
right?
heck yeah.
So there's that. Some different things and training aspects, change some things around in my life to make outside training more of a priority, And this is the thing, like, for example, and I don't use this term in any sort of like ranking way, but you're an upcoming national level instructor, right? How many remote classes outside of your where you live, how many classes do you teach in a year?
It'll be 30 classes in 2024 in 8 different states.
In 8 different states. So that's great, right? For some people, that's very well established, right? Guys like you, guys like Nick Young, Donovan Moore has gone full time now. My staff guy is Hunter Freeland, right? They're teaching that much too. Here's my warning for you, right? Never believe your own hype. Okay.
There you go.
Not that I always thought that I was the best guy out there, but you work so hard to establish your curriculum, one that resonates with you, one that you deliver well. And man, when you finally get there, you've worked that hard, you kind of not coast, but you maintain, right? Because you work so hard to get there. You're like, I'm here. Now I can coast a little bit and enjoy this.
And like the classes filling and the volume of classes probably supports that belief system, right?
Sure. And I don't think it's necessarily wrong. Here's the thing, though.
Right.
Human performance across any sport, especially shooting, right? It's never stagnant. It's never stagnant, right? I don't think it is a stretch to say your good A-class shooter today was your GM 20 years ago.
Man, that's interesting,
right?
Because it evolves, right?
Right.
Like better training, better equipment, all that stuff.
Right. I mean, I see guys right? Well, let's take our friend, Jared Murrieta.
Sure.
First time he shot a match was 3 years ago.
Yeah,
and now he's a grandmaster.
Right, he's killing it.
He's absolutely killing it, right? And there's guys like that all over this place, right? You know what I mean? I'll bring another friend up, man. You know who Randy Toe is, right? Randy Toe,
yeah,
right?
McShredder.
When I moved to North Carolina, right, I wanted to go out of my way and find other people to train with.
What you have? I want to talk about that.
Yeah,
because you found some really solid dudes to train with.
And so I asked my other buddy, Gil Narvaez, one of my staff guys, right? He's like, hey, man, who's around here? He's like, oh, dude, Randy Toe's around here. I'm like, oh, Randy Toe? Ruz, right, yeah. I didn't know that. And then he was like, I go, oh, cool. Can you do an intro? He's like, what are you talking about, bro? I go, can you introduce me to him? He's like, dude, Randy's been to 3 of your classes. I'm like,
really?
what are you talking about? Right. So I look through my Shopify account, and there's his name. I go, hey,
Excel
Randy.
spreadsheet.
I go, Randy, Scott just good morning. You remember me? He's like, of course I remember you. I'm like, bro,
special?
I didn't know Randy Toe, slick Army guy who came to my class was the top 10 GM monster.
Absolutely.
Monster, right? He's like, yeah, man, it's me. I did my first USPSA match because of you. I was like, what in the hell?
Me too.
What, right? So the level of progression. So if you rest on what you do and you don't seek outside information, right, you're going to become stagnant. Yeah. And the next thing you know, man, you're going to become irrelevant, which I have seen in instructors when I first started getting into training with firearms and stuff like that, right? So now that I have the support system, everything like that, I've made the conscious decision to go out and seek other people, right? And try different things, right? Not that what I was doing before wasn't working, but you always have to be expanding, understanding, right? For example, the biggest 2 things, right? Escalator draws and quicker splits. Do I need those to accomplish what I want to accomplish? No, but I want to understand how other people who put their pants on the same way as me can accomplish things, and sometimes better than I can, with this different methodology, so that I can grow as a shooter, performer, and as a teacher, so I can be a better service 100%. To my students. 100%. So that's where I'm at right now. What have I done since that? The weight loss and stuff like that, training more in jiu-jitsu. I'm going to make my comeback in competition sometime this year. Probably do limited optics, because limited optics look like the guns that I shoot, right? Because I'm a big, heavy gun appendix magwell guy, right? So I'm going to shoot that. Right?
Yeah, shoot the gun that you got in your pants every day. Why not?
I think since the last time, I think, probably the biggest thing I accomplished, I got Donovan Moore's Elite Standards. Very cool. I call it the Shield because it's huge. That's tough, right? I'm number 4. I got number 4. So that was fun. That was fun training for that. Yeah. Learning some things from that and stuff. And so yeah, man, that's been in South for 2 years.
There's no arrival point. I think I figured it out early. Mostly, I think it's because of my background, right? So I'm a musician, right? I started there with a trumpet 30 years ago, whatever that was. And that discipline, I'm going to go practice and I'm going to do my things, because when somebody calls me, I have to be able to perform on demand. Like, it started with the music stuff. Yep. And there's no arrival point, because somebody will always be better than you. Yep. You go to the very best trumpet player on the planet and they don't practice for 2 weeks and somebody just passed them. Somebody's in the passing lane. Like, you can't take the time off. You have to get evolved. You have to be better. What trumpet players could do now as opposed to what trumpet players could do 20 years ago is very, very different. There's better equipment. There's better understanding of how to practice and technique on stuff. And so early with the gun, I was like, oh shoot. Like, as soon as I got out of just the defensive world, man, we're talking about like old videos that we have like on different social media. Yeah. My old videos, even on Instagram, super embarrassing, but I'm leaving them all up there. You go up there and make fun of me. It's cool, man. Troll away. I'm looking at the stuff going, oh my gosh, that was like 5 or 6 years ago, 7 years ago that I was doing that stuff. And so evolution never stopped. And when I sorted out, like, where are all the good shooters hanging out? I sorted that out after I think it might have been your first or second class. You had a stage. It was the first class. Yeah. You had a stage. I was like, what is this? Oh, we have to go somewhere and shoot those things. And these get two shots, and that gets 1 shot. Yeah. And you have to move the gun and move the eyes and walk and whatever. And I did well, compared to the guys in that class. I was like completely hooked. I'm like, oh, this is what the good shooters are working on? Right. Like, what was I doing? I was wasting my time. So that was the cascade of like finding more, better, different, new all the stuff, ways of getting better. So it's a never-ending. People that go, oh, I've arrived, bro. You're going to be irrelevant in 2 days. There's no arrival point. If you're in any performance, I feel like any performance sport, any performance art, if you have arrived for some time, and then somebody's going to just get in the passing lane because they're working on stuff and they're becoming better and all that stuff. So, anyway, the fact that for me, my training looks very different than 2 years ago, and I know that every maybe 2 or 3 months, I look videos and go, I barely recognize myself. Some stuff, like benchmarks, and you're like, all right, you can do some things. But some things like, wow, that's very different. So for you, since 2 years ago, you've seeked out some really high-level shooters.
Yep.
And that's cool. I think it's important to seek out training and have, you can call them mentors, you can call them friends, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, it's just words. But, like, seek out people that can do the things that you wish you were able to do, right? That's what I'm doing. And then the work ethic behind, like, you can go get the best lesson on the planet, but if you don't do the work to assimilate that information, like, waste of time. So who and what?
And not even more or less better, but learning how to do things differently.
Sure.
Right, because it's all about context, I think, right? But yeah, let's talk about those guys and give them the credit's due, right? Again, so instructors out there, right? If you do a good job, eventually you will learn from your students, right?
Heck yeah.
And when I say your students, I don't mean there's a claim to it, but the guys who have trained with you before give you some accolation for you helping them get better, right? Sure. For example, right? You're a master class shooter. First time you ever shot a stage was in my class.
Yeah.
Billy Barton, Grandmaster, Bill Drill Wizard. First time he ever shot a stage was in my class.
That's funny.
Randy Toe, first time he shot a stage was in my class.
Got exposed to it and now hungry for it. Right?
Yeah. Donovan Moore, I think the first time he shot a stage was in my class, right?
Cool.
So now what am I doing? I'm going back and I'm training with those guys because they have a luxury or a resource that I don't, and that's time.
Sure.
Out in the studio, I teach 100, and I taught 105 classes last year, right? I'm on the road 320 plus days out of the year, and time is at a premium and so what are some of the things I changed? Because it hasn't changed. My schedule's not getting less.
Right.
Train during lunch.
I was going to say, push pause, don't forget what you're saying, but like I'm watching you, and the 12 hours you're at home, you're putting out a Dryfire video.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I know you're traveling. I know your travel schedule. I know what it's like. And I have a third of the classes in a year, maybe less than a third.
Yep.
And I'm going, I know what it's like to be gone a travel day, 3 or 4 day of classes, is travel day and all that stuff. Yeah. And as soon as you land, you do whatever you got to do and find 15 minutes, 30 minutes to do something, even on those days. That's really cool. Like, it's easier not to.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to rest, But then lunchtime, I'm just going to rest my feet. No, man, like you're out today, yesterday.
Yep.
We're out there doing it. So anyway,
we're doing stuff.
Unpause.
Yeah, so 100%, man. And you really have to have that love for knowledge, right? And knowledge, again, isn't necessarily better. It can be different.
Sure.
Right? And you want to associate with stuff. Guys, here's the funny thing. So this escalator draw that we're doing, right? About 3 years ago, Donovan goes, hey, can I show you a video I've seen of your draw, right? And it was a draw. I think I did a demo. It was an 85 draw, but it was, my classic drop from 12, right? And he goes, if you kept your muzzle lower, got your muzzle lower quicker, it'd be more efficient because you're not going to go above the part that you're shooting.
Sure.
Right? And I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense, man. I'll mess around with it. And he looked at me, he's like, no, you're not. And I go, why do you say that? He goes, because you're not going to be any faster by doing it this way. And I'm like, then why should I do it? He's like, I don't know. I'm just talking to you about it, right? And I'm like, that was interesting because he was going through a little bit of a, well, why do I do it this way? Why do you do it this way?
Which is
should you do it this way? Yeah,
craftsman, right?
Yeah, and that is, and again, part of it is the journey of discovery of why you do certain things. And then we started getting into it, and then I started experimenting with it a little bit, and I wasn't faster, right? Maybe because for a couple of reasons, right? Because I was so fast with that drop from 12, I've been doing it for so long, yada, yada. But in practicing it and understanding how, okay, I want to understand how I do it my way, and I want to understand how this amazing shooter can do it his way and be just as efficient. What I found with the escalator is so for example, let's say you have a 5 or 6 round thing at distance, right? On the escalator, when I draw, all the energy is gone. It's not faster on the first one, but the energy is gone, so I don't have any residual energy affecting shots 2 through 5 or 2 through 6.
The gun just stops in a spot.
Right. It stops in a spot. Right. The analogy I make is the drop from 12 is like a quick jab. Right. The escalator is like a powerful uppercut.
Oh, interesting.
Right. On a jab, you can go over, but you're just spacing. You're touching. You're spacing, but it's quick. But it's not powerful. Right. Where an uppercut, you just stop because that's how you're used to pointing. Right.
Yeah.
So you can use different things in different contexts. That's how I kind of teach it in my class right now. Now my escalator is getting just as quick as the drop from 12.
It's nasty now.
And is it better than the drop from 12? Philosophically, I can see where you can make things, but empirically, based on speed and accuracy, I think it depends on the context. But now I can speak intelligently to both.
And you do both.
Right. Yeah. You know, the funny thing is when, I've had people go, you need to do an escalator, man. That drop from 12 is stupid, right? But they don't do an escalator. What do? They do an elevator, right?
Punch
and I'm
out,
like,
and then...
but I couldn't talk about it before because I couldn't, it wasn't part of my practice. I didn't dissect it. I couldn't break it down, and therefore I couldn't teach it. Now I can. And now guys are coming in and thinking they're doing an escalator when they're really doing an elevator. Now I can help them out.
Yeah.
Now I can help them out. And that's been that growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's
other dudes. You mentioned Donovan or Billy.
Donovan,
Randy.
Billy, Sean Griffith.
Sure.
So I'm going to go ahead and make this thing out, right? President company not included, obviously. Go train with Fabio, yada yada. Get part of his Dryfire program. If Sean Griffith comes to an area near you, or you live near. Somewhat within an hour or 2 hours from the Savannah area in Georgia, go train with Sean. Sean is an amazing guy, top 10, top 15 carry optics GM, great guy. He will appeal to your if you're an athletic guy, right? That's been trained in technique to fulfill principle, and you like to break everything down, not just do 10,000 reps and then eventually you'll figure it out. He's your guy. He is your guy. The 4 hours I spent with him, every single moment was an absolute epiphany where I got better immediately.
That's cool.
Immediately.
Well, then you walk away from something like that with this, like, if I apply this to my new training, my 30 minutes at lunch or whatever, I can make progress on these skills or whatever. That's what we're looking for every time. Especially the better you are, the less you're going to take away from a class or a lesson or whatever. I feel like there's lessons. But man, if I can find somebody that makes me like 1%, hey, try this when you're training and it might move this skill up a little bit. 1% here, 2% there, like a little bit every time. That's what I'm looking for. I mean, nobody's going to go, I'm going to change your life in 2 hours. Like, okay, maybe.
Unless you really suck. Unless you really
if you're like
suck,
really young in the sports,
yeah,
and it's like, okay, if you've never shot a match, you barely can hold the gun. Okay, yeah, I can change a lot. But once you get to a certain level, I'm looking for like, man, that's a really interesting thought. I want to try that. Just the other day, you showed up, you landed, we went training, like it was like immediate. We spent 3 hours on the range, and we shot a crap ton of rounds very purposefully. It was like, we're going to try this on this stage. Try this movement. Let's get the gun up in this way. Let's arrive into the entry this way and whatever. And we found new things and things that on our body size were maybe a little bit different, right? And both of us were learning just from watching each other and doing. And it was a constant, like it was freezing outside and we didn't even know it. Right. So that's when you know you're like, man, I'm getting after it. Like I'm training, I am paying attention, and I'm getting better right now.
Every single one of those 500 rounds had a purpose behind it. Every single one of them.
There was no wasted anything.
And we learned a lot. I think we learned one of the biggest thing is our preconceptions on how you have like a certain position and you have to be this way in that position, right? So we had that pork going through the steel. And we immediately both went at it with that kind of like lean, 3/4 lean, right? And then we went, wait a minute.
We don't need it on this
We don't
stage.
need to do that. Ba-ba, ba-ba.
Right. Aim sooner. Right.
And we took half a second, 0.75 of a second off of that transition. We were like, oh, there you go. But that's what you get from purposeful practice, right?
Yeah. And I love the fact that you're like, man, you went back to when I was doing this stuff 4 years or whatever. all these cats came through my class, did a stage for the first time, and now are like hungry and are doing well.
Oh,
and you're bringing it right back. You're like,
yeah.
cool. I'm gonna put it back in my classes, and I'm removing some things that maybe are less efficient. And I'm gonna do this. Like you're making changes. Like talk about some of the changes.
Well, so here's the thing. I'm making changes that I taught people to do 4 years ago.
Right. You're bringing back stuff that's effective.
Because of my time, I haven't competed in about 5 years. Right.
Sure.
Not that I don't want to, but I haven't had time to do it. Right. Because open enrollment classes are generally always on the weekend. Guess what's on the weekend? Matches.
Yep.
Right. But I got to make time for that again. Right. So, for example, like take the escalator draw. Right. Donovan Moore. 3 escalator draws that I love. Right. Just thinking of that. Right. So Donovan Moore, Shane Caldwell. Right, and one other person, I can't remember what their name is, but they said, bro, I got that from you. When you used to say, hey, man, instead of like doing this punch out 2-line thing, just go up, go up. I got that from you. I'm like, oh, I do say that. I do say that.
Yep.
So we just took it to a different level. They just took it to, instead of straight up, right? I'm like, okay. Jared Murrieta says, hey, bro, you know the first time I ever heard look at a small spot on the target? Like you 5 years or 4 years ago, when you say when you do your classifiers, you look and you try and see if there's anything messed up in the letter A and the alpha.
Yeah, you talk about that for the build drill or whatever.
Yeah,
right
for the
before
build
the
drill.
song.
Right, when I used to do the
smooth operator,
smooth operator for my classifiers, it's like right. Oh, I did say that. Right before when I was lighter and stuff and my knee wasn't so bad before, right? And I was talking to Jared about when you're getting like either the elbow, right, punching the elbow to get our big asses moving,
get
right?
Going,
and he's like, yeah, that's what and I was asking him about getting out of position for us big guys, right? And he's like, yeah, I just moved my elbow. I go, yeah, I heard that before. He's like, yeah, dude, I got that from you. I'm like, man, right. So it's fun just rediscovering the things I used to know that because I don't do them all the time, because I don't compete all the time, that people have taken. Now they're re-reminding me of those things. And it's a great time. It's the learning aspect of it or relearning aspect of it, right? Like you think, hey, man, you know what, bro? I'm a masterclass shooter, bro. I got a fast coin. I know how to reload for concealment.
Yeah.
And then you see Jay Beal do it.
Savage.
Oh, another guy who got in a competition because of me, because he heard one of my podcasts. Right?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you see his, Jay is amazing. First guy to ever make master in open from concealment. I think he's the only one, right?
Oh, really?
And then you see his reloads.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, his reloads from a gamer rig are unbelievably consistent, right? But then you see him do the same thing from concealment, and you're like, what is this voodoo?
Yeah, it's sick.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you talk to him about
consistency, stuff. His Dryfire dedication to like that craft or what it's crazy. Yeah.
Right.
So
and then I enjoy talking to him about like, hey, so how do you do this? He's like, bro, I don't really know. I just do it all the time. He's like, all right, well, let's break it down. How did you get this reload? Then he starts talking about the briquette and blah, blah, blah. And then I said, I go, so, hey, bro, do you have a micro pause when you're going full bore? Do you have a micro pause? He's like, absolutely. I go, great, because the rest of the mortal world don't see no micro pause when you do it.
Yeah.
But he perceives that he does it. What an amazing technique that you can put in and see if that actually works for you based on speed and accuracy.
To be that consistent, he's definitely not throwing them because I've seen him.
But it looks like he is
in a match when like risk management is in effect. Because we can do some crazy. We can all do some crazy things. High level shooters can do some crazy things in training that you're like, holy crap, did you right?
Right.
It makes everybody go wow. But when you're like in that match and you're competitive like a Jay that you could win the whole thing, you're in risk management mode, right? But I'm watching him do nasty reloads in those. So for him, there's a pause there that he perceives. For the rest of us, like, holy crap, he just launched that in there. Another guy that reloads like crazy is Tim. Like it looks like he's throwing his magazine from his belt line.
On a single stack gun.
Like this. Like it doesn't even look like it goes all the way up. So So yeah.
Short arms though. Love you, Tim.
That's messed up.
Love you, Tim. Come on.
I mean, but like, again, so through the years, then people keep pushing performance. Like nasty drawing, like Isaac Lockwood, like Billy Barton. Nick Young. He's nasty draws. Just like the technique keeps getting better. People, are talking about how they're discovering these better ways or more efficient ways of doing things. I feel like we're all learning from that. I'm learning every time. As soon as I turn my Instagram on. If you know who to follow, you can turn Instagram on and learn a bunch of good information if you know who to listen to. Just the other day, Sean was always on trigger, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty much how I do.
Yeah, I
trigger.
started to watch that video.
It's
We
cool.
talked about trigger a lot when I was in
And
this class
like,
too. So.
And then I think it was yesterday or this morning, Nick was doing a mount video on rifle. I was like, yup, that's exactly right. So there's good information out there. And so, lastly, before we go, how I know that at lunchtime you're training.
Yep.
And I know that you're doing Dryfire, but tell people what sort of things are you working on when you do have the, or when you're making the time? Because now you may have the same amount of time, but you're making time somewhere somehow. What is it that you're focused on or working? I know you want to get back into competitions. What is it?
So I think my escalator draw is pretty squared away now, right? In my demos and in different things, right? I'm doing between an 8.5 and a 9.5 consistently, depending on the distance.
And just yesterday on that 10-yard headshot, you were 109 or something like that. Just
yeah.
It's
I could have done that. I need to take a little more time on that, but that's it, right? So that's it. So I think I got that pretty much squared away with the technique that I've adopted from, which is it's a compilation of different people,
sure.
Right? I've got that. So the two main things are splits, right?
Still trigger manipulation.
Yeah, trigger manipulation, right? And understanding myself, right? Because here's the thing, man. You think people disagree about transitions. You think people disagree about draws. Trigger manipulation, oh my God, people are ready to go to war over stuff, right? I slap the trigger every single time.
It's because it's the always and the never, and it's not true.
Right, try them all.
Not always and never, yes.
Yeah. Try them all, right? Now, on the splits thing, again, do I think, would I be able to accomplish anything more if I could do 13, 14s, 15s on demand, right? Outside of the guys that can do that stuff in the static challenge world, right? Sure. But for all intents and purposes, dude, if you win a patch, if you win a coin or something like that, dude, that's cool, right? Yeah, sure. If everyone says, those aren't worth, dude, they're fun, right? You can't tell me if you earn a fast coin, a black belt patch, a shield.
Speaking of, I haven't put that in there.
There you go.
Thank you for bringing that up.
There it is.
I had it in my pocket. I brought it up here. I'm going to add the black belt to the collection of things earned. And yeah, I know that world. It's like they're just trinkets. It's like that's fine, man. You can call them that, but man, those sort of things, especially when I was coming up, they were motivating me to like learn how to do things that I couldn't do yet.
Right.
And now I put a lot of those skills that I learned through that in competition, and I feel way more confident with my gun handling and my ability to shoot. So anyway, trinkets. But a lot of people that say those things that trinkets often can't do.
Sure.
Those things
here's
anyway.
The thing, man. So if you have a fast coin. Right? Sure. And you think when you walk into a room that everyone should stop talking about you're full of shit.
Yeah.
You're full of shit. But if you honestly think that a person who has earned a fast coin did it by a trick or luck, or they don't have manipulations, stop fooling yourself just because you can't do it.
100%.
Okay. So again, you train how you want to train.
Yeah.
You know.
You don't have to go after those things, but don't discredit those things. It's like saying, "Oh, you're just a paper gym." Like, bro. Like, that guy will crush your soul at a match, so careful what you say, you know?
Yeah, exactly, right? On the other hand, if nothing is worth anything, then why do anything?
Right? Yeah.
Right? It's so, blah, 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 I don't do that stuff. I do competition. I'm a grandmaster. That's great, bro. Guess what your patch is? That card.
Yeah.
That card.
What motivates you to get better?
Sure.
And if those things do, great. If competition, I do all of it. I do IGP, I do IPSC, I do a USPSA, I do static challenges. I have my own challenges.
Yep.
I've achieved some things. That doesn't make who I am, but it's like I've confirmed some things that I'm able to do on demand in front of people, because people talk very highly of themselves when they're by themselves, and then they get in front of people and their ability to do things is not the same.
Right. So let's talk about that real quick, right? So in that thing, I mean, you've shot for the black belt patch a number of times.
Oh my gosh, right? Yeah. 4 years.
If I gave you a 3/4 patch every time you hit the 3/4, you'd probably have 10.
There's 2 in there, and then I stopped taking them.
Yeah, right. So this last time when you nailed it, right? Did you already have the skills? Like, so for example, you did it twice. You did once when we first got together, right? And then you did it yesterday, right? What was the difference?
Mental. It's not an ability.
Right.
I had the ability maybe 3 years ago.
And what is harder, right? What is harder, a 7.5 draw out of a competition rig or mental management?
Mental management, 100%.
And you conquered the mental management doing this drill, doing this standard.
100%.
And is that going to transfer to other things?
Of course.
Absolutely it does. Yeah. And absolutely it does.
What you can do in front of people, I think we both say it in every class. If you cannot do it in front of people, you cannot do it.
Right.
And the whole thing about talking about who you used to be, like, man, nobody's impressed. I mean, thank you. Also, nobody cares.
Literally, and that's the lesson. Yeah.
Something right now.
Yeah.
And it's okay to fail, and it's okay to like push and just try to get better. Just be better than yesterday. Like all these people are just trying to hang their hat on something they used to be. It's like, bro, like I'm sure you were something awesome, but let's get better right now and stop talking so much.
And stay open-minded about things.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Just because it may not fit a philosophical set that you've said works right now doesn't mean doing another way doesn't work. And maybe it doesn't, right? But does it work on speed and accuracy? For example, I don't do it anymore because I like people shooting more than I remember. I used to do the steel transitions, and I used to talk about the float. Mm-hmm. And that thing kind of got attacked, right? Because that's not how you should transition. You have more urgency, blah, 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 right? And I get it, right? But I'm showing them something about getting off the target, getting your eye to the next target, prepping in between, or however big the target is, do your trigger manipulation. And it was just a thing, and it got attacked, right? Guess who is a multi-time national and world champion that does a big-ass float in his transitions and gets attacked for it? Christian Sailor. Christian Sailor.
Yeah, he does a little rainbow.
Yeah, and he gets attacked for it. It was like, bro, how many national and world championships you got? And that guy does that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's right because Christian Sailor does it. Yep. I'm saying it's a different way of doing it. Let's look at things before we criticize too much. And if you want to criticize it based on the two metrics that matter, speed and accuracy, not a mantra, right? For example, let's take Bob Vogel. Well, real quick, let's take Bob Vogel. Yeah, sure. Who does Bob's grip other than Bob?
Just Bob.
Can you say Bob's grip is wrong?
No, when he shoots it?
Can you do Bob's grip?
No.
I can't do Bob's grip. I don't know anybody can, but you can't say that it's wrong.
No, not for him.
Not for him.
It's wonderful for him.
Right. And we've all tried it. I mean, we now know why it doesn't work for us, but it does work for Bob. You know what I mean? Yeah. So interesting stuff like that, and that's the discovery path I've been going on. Trying to look at everything, do it based on speed and accuracy, see if I can understand it. Keep it if it's based on speed and accuracy, throw away if it's not. But then I have, as an instructor, a way to talk about things, to give people things to think about.
So I think from the outside looking in, it looks like you're testing things that other people may be talking about or doing. And you're like, oh, let me see how that works. I want to learn all about it.
Sure.
You're doing more movement than you have in a few years because you got a new knee. And you got a little weight.
Yep.
And you're getting back into competition. So like all our training when we got together was all movement. We did like 2 things static just to get the gun zeroed and whatever. And we would. Yep. So you're moving a bunch. You're testing things that other people do to see how you can learn from it and see if it's something you want to apply in your training or not. And you're doing some dry fire. You're kind of hungry to do some things in that realm too. How has dry fire changed at all? Or what have you been doing differently? Or
so, couple things. Traditional dry fire, empty gun to a target, right? In my little workshop I have at home. I have my own little targets I have. It's like you know, I took the target you made for me, the 1/3, and now through a company we have those paste ones that go on the wall.
Oh, cool.
I have all the way to half a page. Or half a target, all the way to like a 1/16 target, right?
Oh, cool.
So yeah, so just using those have been fun. But so I don't sustainment of skill. I do that all the time anyway, right? But mainly what my dry fire is I'll look at a technique that somebody's saying, and
test it out.
Test it out until it works, and then I make my decision from there, right?
Because talking about something you can't do is not intelligent. Well, did you say that? Like for me, when people are doing something and you can hate it immediately or go, wait. Let me try it out. Like, let me get decent at it before I can make an intelligent decision on this. Right.
For example, right, I had my old technique as far as reloading go that served me well when I was trying to earn a fast coin and served me well in USPSA, right? My technique was here, right, race to the mag first, right? Instead of trying to get this finger on the side of the mag, jam down, get the thumb on the side, get in pocket, and then when I get the mag, let the mag drop first.
Sorry, what's this thing? Slow Wi-Fi. Oh, that's fine.
Yeah. Let the mag drop first so I have a visual cue so I don't need to turn the gun as much, and then boom, mag comes in.
Okay.
Served me very well. Sure. Served a lot of people very well, right? But now with reloads and standards and everything like that, man, we need to pick up some time
Sure.
and more consistency. So then I saw a video by Rob, I'm going to mispronounce his last name, Ephronia.
Oh, Epiphania.
Epiphania,
Yeah.
right? Great guy.
Yeah.
And he just had this thing. He was topping an open rig, right? But he's like, hey, guys, the thing that happened is bring that elbow in. Bring that elbow in. Because sometimes my reloads, man, I could do ton and they would be magic. Other times it would be cut,
yeah, when the wrist turns, it's a problem.
Right.
In the elbow, yeah.
Right,
Yep.
right. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this thing a try. From concealment, right? Boom. Elbow into the rib, right? Bop.
Oh. Yeah.
Bop. Oh. Bop. I did 10 in a row.
That's cool.
And I'm like, man. Okay, well, maybe I'm just motivated because this is something new and it's going to fall apart like things do sometimes, right? So I need to put some pressure in here, right? So my girl Heather, I said, hey, Heather, come in here real quick. Put me on a shot timer, okay? Not that I'm recording time, but I just want that to be that impetus,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So let's see if there's some pressure I can still do it. Beep, bam.
Yeah, well, that worked. Give me some video. Did you?
Yeah.
That's how I do it
100%.
too.
So the video you guys saw was me doing it, and it was...
Yeah.
I did 15 reloads perfectly in a row.
That's cool.
Right? And
you're like, that requires I'm gonna do that more. Why? Right? You're gonna I'm gonna invest in that. Yeah.
And some people say don't hunt for magic tricks and stuff like that. I get it. There's no magic tricks, but there's techniques.
Technique's good.
There's techniques, right? And what is that technique? By bringing that elbow in, that's not a magic trick. It is an index to keep my movement the same every single time.
Yeah, and it doesn't bend your, like when people go from concealment especially, they start doing this.
Right.
And it bends like the line. It's not a good line.
Right.
If you go here, if you just, this can stay in line.
Boom, right there.
Right.
Also with the
It's
elbow
one straight
floating,
line.
right? When you try and go in, right? With the elbow floating, it's not in the same space.
Sure.
So it can do that.
Yeah.
It can
Tons
do
of
that.
things happen.
But when you do this, it's always the same. It's always the same. And,
yeah, it's cool.
And then I go back, I take that video, and I watch what Jay Beal does. And bro, when he does his shit, his elbow never leaves his body.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's it. And that's the type
There's
of
a
stuff,
couple
right?
guys that bring both elbows into the same, because then now it's the same. But then you do it, man, I have my own thoughts. So when you go on movement, though, around barriers, like then, do you have to go back here? Anyway, but there's static, though. But you put your elbows together, and it's the same spot every single time. So anyway, but yeah, a little technique and a lot of practice.
To make it consistent.
Exactly, and then that's the job. So what I wanted to say before, and I forgot, but yeah, the industry cannibalizes itself sometimes, but then we have to always take a pause and go, hey man, we're like talking, the 1% of the 1% is like eating each other up, and there's like millions of gun owners that need help. So stop killing everybody on the internet.
Well,
and,
I think there's a way to do things, and on the other hand, there's a way not to do things, but that's okay. I ain't your dad. You do what you want. I've had my fair share of internet drama, and while I think those things maybe could have been done a little bit better, that's okay. It made me look inside myself, right? To say, wait a minute, this person is attacking this, this, and this. Do I really know how to explain it? Do I know how to do it the other way so that I can, and then I make up my own mind and then see how it translates to class in my own performance, my demos, and my students' performance, right? The 1% eats itself up.
It does.
A lot.
It's unfortunate sometimes. Like, come on, man.
It is.
But sometimes it does bring a good change. I mean,
but that's just human nature, man. Human nature goes, you do that way. I do mine that way. I can't be wrong, so you must be wrong.
Right.
Or we can explore those techniques, talk about them intelligently. Because if you don't talk about them intelligently, you're just noise. You're just noise. And the rest of the world sees that. Right? And the rest of it. And I think if your fan base loves the noise, then they're not students. They're just spectators in the arena going, type of stuff. I don't know what I mean by that, but whatever. I think it's a good analogy. So.
I would say this. Thank you for sharing some of your thoughts. I love seeing the stuff that you're incorporating. You changed some things in your classes. That was really fun too. Some of the trigger stuff, some of the transition stuff, some of
sight confirmations, trigger manipulations.
That's cool. So the class is evolving to something that you feel really good about, and your students are getting a lot out of it. So it's cool the last couple of days to do that with you, and then we'll get another couple of days the next couple of days.
Yeah, man.
We'll get to training today. Super excited about you getting back into competition. Like yesterday, we were both preaching it to like all those 25, 26 people in the class. Like, hey, like, you're in a place where you might start looking into competition. They were excited about, hey, man, like, I probably should. There's plenty of local places where I can compete.
Absolutely.
So you're lighting that fire back up. that did it for me, and sounds like a bunch of other people that I didn't even know about. There are shredders right now, so let's get more people. And why competition? Because it makes you train at a completely different level. Like it pushes performance.
Well, it provides a metric that you don't have an excuse on. Right? You didn't come up with this. You didn't come up with the stage.
Yep.
Neither did your opponent, and the judgments of speed and accuracy are inescapable.
Yeah.
Inescapable, right? So you have one or two things. You're either your ego can't take it and you quit. All right, bro. Or you go, holy crap.
I got work to do.
Yeah, that 68-year-old dude who put down his oxygen
Bro, that was
mask.
my experience. That was terrible.
Yeah. Who just pushed my, stuff in is better than me. How do I do that?
Yeah.
How do I do that?
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, you guys know how to follow Scott. You know all the stuff. Is there anything you want to say about sponsors or anything? You guys know how to find his class. If you don't know how to find Scott, you're special and you live under a rock. But anyway, thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you next time.